Good morning, everyone. My name is Angela Zapian, and I am with the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District. I am an air quality specialist here with the district, and Michelle and I are here today to present the Vegetated Barriers Emissions Reduction Program for the Arvin Lamont AB 617 community. Next slide, please. So some background, AB 617 requires CARB, which is California Air Resource Board, and air districts to develop and implement additional emissions reporting, monitoring, reduction plans, and emission reduction measures to reduce air pollution exposure in disadvantaged communities. This is where the Vegetative Barrier Emissions Reduction Program comes in. It's a part of the California Climate Investments, a statewide initiative that puts billions of cap and trade dollars to work, reducing
Hi,
greenhouse gas.
Angela. Sorry, don't mean
Hi,
to interrupt. I noticed that it's not in presentation mode. I don't know if you want to give me a second just to put it
okay,
in that mode for you guys.
thank you. Okay, am I okay to continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So the Vegetative Barriers Emissions Reduction Program, it's a community identified project. It's guided by the shared experience and knowledge of local community members through input and involvement on steering committees for the AB 617 selected community. So we're going to select an eligible entity to implement vegetated barriers projects that are going to be specific for the Arvin Lamont AB 617 community through an RFP process, which is the referral for proposal. Work with the community to reduce exposure to emissions and provide several key co-benefits. Next slide, please. So some key benefits of vegetated barriers: shades buildings and reduces energy consumption by lessening the load on air conditioning systems, reduces water usage when planting drought-resistant vegetation, reduces noise pollution when planting trees near freeways. Vegetated barriers with one or more rows of trees or shrubs can improve the air quality in the immediate area by intercepting airborne particles, dust, chemicals, and odors. Next slide, please. So the funding for these projects or project is up to 500,000, and it must be within the Arvin Lamont AB 617 community. So an applicant must be in compliance with applicable state and or federal conflict of interest laws, disclose any additional funding sources. However, those additional fundings, they do not preclude any participation. Funds may be leveraged to expand projects, and matching funds can be used, but it is not required. Next slide, please. So there is a commitment for the project of a minimum of 10 years. The project implementation phase must be completed within those first 3 years, and then maintaining the project, complying with requirements, and making the project available for inspections as requested is the contract period. Next slide, please. So applicants must meet the following criteria. joint powers of authorities, special districts, and nonprofits, tribal governments, or public agencies, entities experienced in vegetative barrier projects must be the property owner or a documented authority from the owner. Ensure additional funds are available to carry out project. Contact local county ag commissioner's office before obtaining plant material. Implementation of vegetated barriers must meet guidelines. Provide public access when where feasible. Work performed must meet CEQA and other requirements. Ensure property taxes are current for project. Committing to a 3-year project implementation with a total 10-year contract period. Have financial capacity to complete, operate, and maintain project. Make project available for inspection, and obtain necessary permits. Next slide, please. So eligible projects must be located within the Arvin Lamont AB 617 community. The required species selection must be non-invasive, non-poisonous, safe for roadways, effective in reducing the greenhouse gas emissions, low in BVOC emissions, minimize allergenic pollen. Consider the following plant characteristics when selecting species: seasonal effects, leaf surface, air emissions, pollution, and stress resistance. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to our senior, Michelle Ortiz, to go over suggested sites, project evaluation process, and submitting your application.
Thanks, Angela. Good morning, everyone. My name is Michelle Ortiz. Once again, I'm a senior air quality specialist here at the Valley Air District. Continuing on with the presentation, on this slide, we'll go ahead and go over some suggested sites. Um, the projects that are to be implemented through this RFP, again, must be within the boundaries of the AB 617 community of Arvin Lamont. If there are any concerns or questions as to where these boundaries lie, there is a link on the slide, which is also available in the RFP, for you to look and see where those boundaries are. In addition to that link, it also identifies priority locations that have been identified by community members to be considered as potential locations for vegetative barrier projects. On the screen here, there are a few of them. As you can see, Fuller Acres is one of the suggested sites, as well as east of San Diego Street and south of Burgundy Avenue, just to name a couple. Okay, next slide, please. Eligible project costs. So this is a reimbursement process. So the selected entity must accrue the cost first prior to us being able to give reimbursements. These reimbursements for those costs may be up to 100% of those eligible costs. These include supplies, materials, labor and construction, contracted services, maintenance, non-construction services of up to 25% of the eligible costs, contingency costs, which is up to 10%, and as well as the signs and interpretive aids for communication. Next, and actually, we also have some ineligible costs. These include overhead, rent, utility, office space, as well as some operating equipment. Next slide, please. So throughout the project evaluation process, we will be following this scoring criteria. As you can see on this table, the categories in which this criteria falls under would include cost effectiveness of the project, qualitative benefits, co-benefits, species selection, as well as project readiness. Next slide, please. On this slide, we'll go ahead and go over some of the required documents that would be needed to be included in the application packet to be considered complete. This includes a completed application, a completed certifications form signed by the applicant, the first page of the W-9 form, results from the CNRA calculator tool. This tool is included in Exhibit B of the RFP, as well as a step-by-step process that you can follow to get what is needed for this application. Dated and itemized quotes for project costs, as well as an aerial map and photographs of the project site and the site plan. Next slide, please. So this is a visual representation of the process in which we'll take to evaluate the projects that are submitted. Applications are received by the district, and then those applications are reviewed and scored by the district staff as well as the Arvin Lamont CSC. Then we would meet with the Arvin Lamont CSC to present and rank those projects based on the scoring criteria that we went over a couple slides ago. And once a determination is made, then the applicants will be notified as to whether or not they've been selected, and those that have been selected will be offered a contract. Once those contracts are signed and executed by both parties, then project implementation can commence. Next slide, please. This is the schedule for the RFP. The RFP was opened up on September 9th. Today, September 25th, we are having our informational meeting, and all proposals are to be submitted by October 25th. They are to be submitted before 4 p.m. that day, and it takes approximately 90 days for us to review and come to a determination, which is around January 23rd of next year. And during that time, again, we will review and make our final selections. Next slide, please. So for any general questions regarding the RFP, please feel free to contact David Lopez. He is the supervising air quality specialist overseeing the vegetative barriers project. He is here with us today. Feel free to go ahead and email him or give him a call on this contact information here. For those that are interested in submitting a proposal, please email those to grants@valleyair.org with the subject line titled as Arvin Lamont Vegetative Barrier Application for easy identification. Next slide, please. And with that, that concludes our presentation, and we'll go ahead and open up to any comments and questions if anyone is in the audience and has any. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. Appreciate the presentation, and everyone who's maybe watching this video afterwards. Our team will work with the CSR group and have this posted on our website. So for those who couldn't attend, can still go back and watch and submit questions to us. But we thank everybody for your time and hope you all have a great day. And that concludes our meeting.